This is The Leader You're Becoming, a show where we talk about leadership, stewardship, and building the type of business people actually want to work for. I'm Coach T. Let's get into it. All right. Welcome back to The Leader You're Becoming. I am so excited to have you here. If this is your first time, welcome in. If this is your next time, welcome back. Again, I am your host, Coach T, and I'm excited to be here today. And we are about to get controversial today, y'all. Yes, I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to bring some controversy here. Controversy not for just the point of just being controversial, but my authentic self is the type of individual that wants us to think. I want to look at something and I can learn something from every single person. And so today we are going to talk about the ABCs of leadership, of being a leader, and the ABCs of being a leader. And we're going to look at two leaders today. Two leaders, Barack Obama and Donald Trump. Oh yeah, yep, we're doing it. We are going to look at two leaders, and I said leaders, Barack Obama and Donald Trump. Now, why is this important, right? Why are we going to do this? Is because the simple fact is this. Whenever I look at leaders, my thing about looking at leaders is I want to be truly authentic to what's the data, what's the real world saying. This is not a political, show episode today. This is not political. This is saying we have leaders, and then what is it that caused millions of people to follow Donald Trump? And what is it that caused millions of people to follow Barack Obama? And as a leader, and this is the leader you're becoming, right? These guys are great examples of what you and I can do and things we can model after, not their politics. All right, we're going to unravel that. Not their politics, right? But there's frameworks and things that are there, the ABCs of being a leader that is there that we can learn from, and we too one day can have the same type of followership of each and one of those guys. And so with that being said, this is something that, as I've been diving into, and we talked about before on a previous episode, the work of Marcus Buckingham, right? The 9 Lies About Work, which we talked about on the last show. And then now the work that I'm looking at, which is Design Love In, right? And in Design Love In, the book talks about the ABCs of being a leader. And this was so clean and so clear. It's like all 20 years of my experience it was just nice and easy, fit right into a bucket. And I'm like, yeah, I can rock with that. That resonated with me. We bringing it right to the show, right? Because I got to give that to my people in that simplicity. And this is what we're going to go with. So the work is this. It's simple. It says this, that you are a leader when people choose to follow. That's the point, right? That is like the baseline data after, years and years of data that's going around trying to understand leadership. Leadership is not really a thing. We can get into that later. But leaders, you're a leader when people choose to follow you. Now, that doesn't mean that you may have a position where people are required to report to you. You may have authority and can require people to comply with you, but neither automatically means people choose to follow you. All right, that is key, right? You can have a position, a title, and people, report to you. You can have some authority, right? And if you have authority, people will comply. But being a leader, people choose to follow you. John Maxwell talks about this very, very much so in his book, the 5 levels of leadership. And one of the things he talks about is you're a leader by title. And in the spirit of that, from the work of Marcus Buckingham, you're actually not a leader. You just have a position. You just have a title. You have a level of authority, so people comply, and you have a position, so people report to you. But on this show, we are talking about the leader you're becoming. The leader, the type of individual that people want to follow, they choose to follow each and every day. And when they choose to follow that individual, that force that gets created by following you as the leader, you guys can go accomplish anything you want on this planet if you set your mind to it and y'all decide that's what y'all want to do. And that's what we're here to do. And so with that being said, looking at the ABCs before we get into our our case studies here between Donald Trump and Barack Obama, right? Let's look at the ABCs. What do they stand for? The A, very simply, stands for authenticity. Are you being authentically you, right? Not a generic version of leadership that you read in the book, not this generic version of, and I say generic in the sense of, oh, I'm a servant leader, because you read that somewhere and most job postings say it. So if you go out there and you put that on your resume, everything's going to be great, right? No. Are you really leaning into your personality, your communication style, your strengths, right? And the way that you see the world? Like, can people see that? Are you recognizable for who you are? I remember when this moment hit me when I was applying to be a general manager at a national car dealership. And I remember the recruiter, I had all my stuff planned out for the interview, and the recruiter said, what's your leadership style? And I had already rehearsed it, servant leader, because this is how I serve and this is how I see the business, etc. And I had all this stuff planned out. And I remember something in that moment said, do not say that, right? It would have been a great answer. I had rehearsed that thing for hours, right? And I remember saying, do not say that. And he asked the question. I was ready to answer, and I said, the type of leadership style that I have is flexible. And I paused. And you can hear the quiet on the other end of the phone. I was like, I messed this up. And he's like, flexible? Okay, could you explain? And I said, yes. I said, look, if I walk into a new dealership and it's a team full of senior people, well, I am going to lead that team differently than I would a team where everybody is brand new in the dealership, right? Like, I can't say that I'm going to lead exactly the same. So my style has to adapt to the environment where I'm at. It's like playing sports, right? If I don't have any 7-footers on my team, I'm not going to run an offense that's built around somebody being 7 feet tall. I don't have Shaq out there. I'm not going to run an offense around Shaq if my tallest man is Muggsy Bogues. For all you, basketball fans out there. I'm not going to do that. That makes no sense whatsoever. And so that's one of those things where I showed up as authentic. Hey, look, I don't know the dynamic of what my dealership's going to be and my personnel, but I know when I get in there and I can identify the strengths and the weaknesses, if you will, of every individual, and then how they collectively working together, and what are the gaps, and then what's the outcomes that my role is going to need to produce, and then what talent do I have, and what are their aspirations, and what are their goals, and why are they working there? Like, I need to understand all these things before I can say, all right, this is going to be the plan. And I've always struggled, and I've always felt like it was a struggle, shall I say, where, some people, you get them in a room and they're like, I got this perfect plan. And then they run with it. And I'm just like, I don't have a plan yet. I need a moment. What's the data? That's an example of me being authentic. Me being authentic to my strengths, which is I need to get the data. I need to understand the variables. I don't need to understand every single one, because at some point in time, you got to poop and get off the pot. But at some point in time, I gotta get all the data in. I gotta understand who are all the people, what is going on in their lives, right? Their work lives. Like, what's the atmosphere of the room? What's maybe the political environment of the room? Like, what's the culture is happening? And then what's our goal? And then, like, now we can start mapping out a plan. Now we can start attacking it and going after it and being diligent and being focused. And now we can, start having some level of accountability. Why? Because we all got all the data on the table, at least enough data to make a decision to move forward within the time frame that's expected. Once I started being that way, my career took off. That's when I started seeing the big jumps in my career. But every time I try to be this universal guy and come up with this grand plan on just a little piece of data or anything of that nature, it went sideways. It would go sideways. And so your team has to see you lean into your strengths. They have to see that. And guess what? Your strengths are your strengths, and you should lean into your strengths. If I'm the data type of guy, then let me be the data type of guy that's collaborative, bringing it all together. But you might be, hey, I don't need all that. That data's confusing. Get that away from me. What do we have right here? Boom, we're going to move off of that. Or I've already been thinking about this for 30 days, and now I'm ready to execute, period, point blank, no questions asked. Lean into that. Lean into your strengths. So number one, got to be authentic. That's the A. B, you got to have beliefs, and everybody got beliefs. But here goes the thing. Do people understand what you stand for? That's belief. Do people understand what you stand for? Your beliefs explain how you see the work, the people, the problems, and the future you're trying to create. Your beliefs make you understandable. So now, my authenticity makes me recognizable. My beliefs help people understand me, right? So when they're talking about, myself, and I remember my director of operations, this was before he got promoted to that role. He said to me, he goes, you know what? I really appreciate you because you're going to go after the data first. And I value that. I know what you believe. I know how you look at the problems. I know, and I see how you understand problems. You're like, you don't care about right, wrong. You just want to see the data, and then we can start to dive in. And I remember him saying that, and I'm so grateful because it was one of those moments of I was like, yes, that is how I believe. Like, that is how I see the work. What is the data? Like, what evidence do we have to make this decision? And then who needs to be a part of this decision, and what collaboration needs to happen? Your beliefs have to be known. If you only keep your beliefs in your head, y'all, then guess what? Nobody will know. Nobody will know. Nobody knows what you're thinking. Like, we don't have a mind reading drugs yet or machines. So you got to constantly be talking about how you see the world, how you envision the future, how you see the problem. Let it out. Let those things out. Sometimes I think we get into these leadership roles and we're like, oh, gotta be this robot, and we can't let people know how we see the world and see the client. And no, let that stuff out. Even if the company has policies and processes, okay, it's fine. But people got to still see and understand how you believe. They got to still understand you. If you are going to want to lead people, you got to get rid of all of the unpredictability. This is what this is really coming down to. People will follow you when you are predictable. Now, I know some people are like, oh, keep them on their toes. No, like, people ain't got time for that. Like, who are you? Can I recognize you? What do you believe? So I can understand you. I may not have to agree with you. And that's the beautiful thing that I love about the research that went into the Marcus Buckingham's work. It didn't matter whether people agreed with it or not. That was irrelevant. That's the beautiful part about this. It didn't matter whether they agreed or not. It was, can I recognize it? Are you being true? And then can I understand what you think and how you process things and how you view the world? If I could do that, that's predictable. And then now, how do I experience that belief? It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. And that is C. That is your customs. As a leader, what customs do you have? Customs, what happens is people repeatedly experience what you believe through your customs. Your customs, what are customs, right? What language do you use? What do you what do you say reoccurringly, right? What stories do you tell? And how do you tell your stories? What type of meetings are valuable to you, right? The decisions you make, your routines, your standards, how you respond under pressure. These are your customs. There was, for me, it's my belief is everybody to feel like this is a great workplace and that everyone has access to me, right? A great workplace at the office. And I said, and anybody, I say it's an open door policy. Now you say that, and you used to have a joke. Now here goes the funny part. I always say to everybody, I have an open door policy. And then I used to have to start making a joke to say, but my door might be closed, right? It's really open. I used to have to say this. And the reason why is I actually work better with my door closed. I can pay attention. I can focus. When my door is open, I can hear everything that's going on out there, and my achiever brain and strength and my curiosity gets overwhelmed. And I hear people across the building with an issue, and my spidey sense is like, oh my God. And I start wanting to solve that issue or type the manager a note because I can hear that thing over there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's moments and there's times for that. But I found when I really needed to focus in and get something accomplished, right, I had to let the other leaders do their thing, the other people do their thing, and I focus on the thing that I was required to get accomplished at that point in time, right? That's me. And so to do that, my door would be closed, right? I used to close my door a lot when that happened. And I got some feedback. And I got feedback from my team, and they were like, hey, we love being around you. We actually enjoy, like talking to you, etc. It's like, but sometimes you feel closed off because the door is closed off. And no, for me, I'm like, but like, you guys can come in, and like you just said, you're like talking to me and I'm cool and all that, blah, 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 blah. And I said, you know what? Okay, how can I give my team the feeling of connection with me and still need time where I can focus on my work? What are some things that I can do? And I said, you know what? I am going to give every person a touch point every day, or I'm gonna try to get it done every single day. And so what I started doing was, when I walked in the morning, I would go to every single person in the building and dap them up. Every person, I would walk over and dap them up. And at one point we had upstairs and downstairs. I would go, walk in, dap everybody up, go upstairs, dap everybody up. And then I would come back down. We would have a morning huddle. And if I saw new people, I'd dap them up. And, technicians would come in, I'd dap them up. And now, I've done this now for like almost 2 years now, almost 2 years. And it's to the point now where when I walk in the building and somebody walks past me and it's their first time seeing me for the day, without question, they can be on the phone with a client, they could be doing something else, they could be in a meeting, everybody will go like this, because they know I'm coming around to dap them up. I'm coming around to dap them up, and I dap them up and I look them in their eye and I'm like, you good? You good? And literally all morning, it's, you good? How you doing? How was everything? How was last night? How was yesterday? And I just take a moment, and guess what? It's only like 5 minutes, maybe 10. Really gets to like 10 to 15 now because people want to talk, right? And but here goes the thing. When it first started, it was just like a dap, and it was like, all right, cool. And then now people stop. And they're like, yeah, I had this thing going on. And I'm having all these little points of connection every morning. Some people talk longer than others. Some people, I gotta be like, oh, okay, that's over. I gotta get to it. But at the same time, I'm like, no, they feel comfortable now. They want to have a conversation now. They want to talk now. Let's go. This is what this moment is for. This is the most important thing right now. I got a team member that is just gushing, ready to talk to me in the morning. Come on now. What better way to say, hey, we got an open door policy. You have open door policy, meaning you have access to the GM, to the operator of the business. You got access to me. Every morning I come to you. You don't have to come to my office. I will come to you at your desk, at your office, and I will make a connection with you. Human touch, right? Like HR appropriate human touch, right? And we have a point. And if there's anything, I'm gonna look you in the eye. You good? And that's my thing. You good? And they're like, I'm good. I'm like, all right. I'm like, you good? And if I see anything off, I'm like, you sure? You can tell. We can go to my office now. We can have a talk. And they're like, no, I'm good. Or, yeah, let's talk about it later. Or they'll just share it right there, right? That became a custom that was associated to my belief that every single person, we're all working on the same team. That's my belief. And we all should have access, right? I'm no greater than anybody else. No greater. I just happen to be responsible for it all working. That's it. That's the only thing. And so that's example of a custom that I started, and I'm thankful for my team giving me the feedback, because that opened up the door for my ability to show my authenticity, because I do care, show my beliefs, and put a custom around it so that people can have an experience. And yes, I've had people that have come up to me. It's like, I've never had a boss, right? It feels weird being said, people saying that just comes around and talks to everybody every single day. Man, that's like, it feels good to work at a place where my boss literally comes around and talks to me every single day without question. Comes all the way to the back, right? To the warehouse, to wherever else. Doesn't matter. He will come find me to talk to me, to say what's going on for the day. Man, there it goes. And so this is an example, again, y'all, of authenticity, right? Or excuse me, that's authenticity, beliefs, and a custom that creates an experience. Now, that's me, right? That's my example, right? But let's look at two leaders. And we define leaders by, do people choose to follow you? Not because they report to you because you have a position and a title, and not because they have to comply to you because you have authority in your position to do something, right? That can cause a consequence to them, an unfavorable one. Let's look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Now, again, I wrote this down because it's important. This is not an endorsement of his character, politics, or conduct. It is an observation about followership. And the same will be true for Obama. All right. But Donald Trump, let's start. Authenticity. Trump presents a highly recognizable version of himself. He is direct. He is combative. He is unscripted. He is confident and unwilling to soften his language to satisfy his critics. That is authentically him. And then when he's authentically himself, this is how his followers say. This is what they say about it. They experience, not what they say, what they experience, right? They experience that as strength, honesty, and resistance to the establishment. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's irrelevant. His authenticity, people start experiencing honesty, resistance to the establishment, and strength. Whether you like it or not, that's irrelevant. But because he is authentically himself, that is what people experience. Now, what are his beliefs, right? His central beliefs are communicated, very repeatedly. America first, stronger borders, economic nationalism, strength, winning, and opposition to entrenched institutions. That's what he says he believes in, right? Now, whether you believe his policies align with that or not, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. That's the beliefs that he kept talking about over and over again for 8 years. Well, not 8 years, right? Well, technically 8 years, because he had a presidency where he wasn't part of it. There was one without him, right? And so, this has been a 12-year experience. It's going to be a 12-year experience of this, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, right? And his customs. What were his customs, right? He had constant rallies. He had slogans. He used repetition. He did direct attacks all the time. He created nicknames, whether they were positive or not positive. They were nicknames. He used social media to communicate, right? He got a social media platform, and a reoccurring outsider versus establishment narrative makes all of those beliefs tangible for the people who have chosen to follow him. Hey, I'm sorry. That is not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea at all. At all. But Authentic Terrell says this. Take a step back. There's millions of people that follow. And if definition of follow, a leader, is people who choose to follow, I got to pay attention. What can I learn? And guess what? I learned he just had his ABCs. He just leaned into his ABCs. He was authentic. He constantly communicated his beliefs, and he had customs that allowed people to experience his beliefs. Whether you believe him or not, it's irrelevant. And people said, they voted and said, yes, I'll do it. Twice. Millions of people said yes to that, right? Now, again, and his followers rarely have to wonder at the end of the day what he believes or how he communicates it. You don't gotta guess. You don't have to guess. Now, let's juxtapose that to Obama. Obama's ABCs. Now, again, in fairness, because that's authentically me, right? In fairness, this is not an endorsement to Barack Obama or the Democratic Party. This about his character, his policies, or his conduct. It is an observation of followership. That's it. And him being a leader. He was authentic in this way. He presented himself with calmness, thoughtfulness, optimism, intellectual discipline, and measured communication. That is more my cup of tea. That is me. That is my cup of tea. I resonate with that. That's why I rocked with Barack Obama in that way. Now, again, taking that off the table for a second, he was authentically him. And what did people like me at that time experience, right? We experienced dignity, a level of stability, competence, and hope. He ran a whole campaign on hope. Come on now. That's what people experience. Now, beliefs. What were his beliefs? He often emphasized hope over fear, unity over division, inclusion, cooperation, and the possibility of collective progress. That was what he always talked about. Consistently, we knew where his beliefs were, right? At least what he communicated to us from a platform or when we got to see him on TV screen or in podcasts for that matter later on, right? And what were his customs? How did people experience, right, his beliefs? He often had structured speeches, right? It would always use, his speeches use inclusive language, personal storytelling, historical context, and appeals to a shared identity, consistently bringing those beliefs to life. That was Obama. His followers understood that what he represented and the emotional experience that were associated with him. Now, again, you got two very different people. And I don't just mean a black or white thing. I mean, literally, one is like, win, I don't care, I'll talk about you, and I'm not changing nothing, right? And I will be harsh. I'll be harsh. I'll cuss at you. And you got somebody else who's calm, right? And hopeful, inclusive. Both had hundreds of millions of followers. Both had hundreds of millions of followers. Now, we can argue about which one will produce the best outcome. That's again, that's not this conversation. What this conversation is, they both leaned into their ABCs, their authenticity, their beliefs, and their customs to allow people to experience what they believed. And because of that, hundreds of millions of people followed both. Now, that mean that, but also hundreds of millions of people were repelled. And that's the thing. Be yourself as a leader, and you're going to repel some, which is perfect, and you're going to lock in others. And as a leader running a business, your job is to get the people that lock in, that say, I want to follow. Right? Now, that doesn't mean that you don't grow and you don't have professional development, you don't get better in some, in areas, but that does mean you lean into those strengths. You lean into who you are, your beliefs, and you lean into your customs. And it's okay. Also, I will say, your beliefs might change if data changes. That's okay too, if you're that type of individual. Some people, it don't matter. Lean into that then. I don't think it's going to always produce the best outcome, but again, you still will have people that follow. Now, with that being said, here goes some practical steps for each and every one of us to do, right? To ensure that we got our ABCs in order. Number one, ask yourself what is distinctly and recognizably true about the way that you lead, right? Or I lead. Your beliefs. What do I genuinely believe about people, performance, customers, accountability, and the future? What do you genuinely believe? Number three, what repeatable practices allow people to experience those beliefs? And then I want you to go ask your team something. I'm gonna do it too. Right? It says, based on the experience that you have with me, this is what you ask your team, based on the experience you have with me, what would you say I genuinely believe? And now here goes the key for you. The gap between what you intended and what they experience is where your leadership work can begin. That's the place. And my closing thought here with that is this. and I wrote it because it's so important. Your authenticity makes you recognizable. Your beliefs make you understandable. Your customs make you credible. And your credibility makes you followable. You don't need everybody to follow you. You just need to create a clear, consistent, and trustworthy experience that gives the right people something meaningful to follow. That's what we got today. Man, woo, woo, yeah, yep. I know I'm gonna get some conversation on this one. Last time I said anything about a president, my comments on YouTube blew up for the size of that channel. But with that being said, thank you all for giving space and giving me space for the most important resource that you have, which is your time. And I want to honor that, and I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. This leader, becoming a leader journey that we're on, you don't have to take this thing alone. And so right here, you can find my contact information. Let's get together. Let's have a conversation about it, right? Be a resource. I had people that made themselves available to ask me questions, to allow me to ask questions to them and pick their brain. I'm available to you. If you are a follower of this show, you got access, right? This is my dap to you. Contact me. Let's have a great conversation. Let's build the best workplaces on the planet that people love to go to each and every day. And it's a loving experience every day for not only our people, but our clients as well. God bless.